When Harry's Wife Met H.G., Volume 2. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. You have now listened to Volume 1, Parts 1 to 6, which recounted my first encounter with Harry's wife in a high-end bar many years ago. The purpose of that recollection was, of course, to make good on the explanation that I gave that I've met her on several occasions, and also to assist you in understanding how I form my view of her being a narcissist. My own personal interactions with her, the way that I picked upon her micro-behaviors, the way that I probed and sought a response and got the response that I craved, not only in terms of the assertion of control, but also to see how she responded, demonstrating that she was one of my brethren, albeit a less evolved kind compared to myself. It was all part of conveying that to you. I know that there are some of you who wanted it more to be a case of me bowling up and saying, well, I met her in a bar and I talked to her for a bit. She was really boring. She talked about suits and she talked about the fashion on suits, and then she wanted me to effect some introductions so that she could meet people because she was interested in the circles that I moved in, and ultimately I said I wasn't particularly interested. Now, I could tell you all of that, but it doesn't convey to you the purpose of what this channel is about. You see, this isn't a channel that just deals in gossip about Harry's wife. Of course, some of the source material might be of a gossipy nature, but I break it down and analyse it with regard to the world of narcissism. And that's the whole point of this channel. It's explaining narcissism and psychopathy. I know that there are some of you listening who aren't really interested in that, and that you just want to hear the latest of Harry's wife's antics, and that you want her to be given a bit of a verbal lashing as a consequence of your glorious narrator. That's fair enough if you do, but what you have to understand is that it's always going to be set against the purpose of this channel, which is explaining about narcissism and psychopathy, and explaining her behaviours through the prism of her narcissism, how she responds, how she reacts. And therefore, it was explained not just as me telling you, oh, this is what happened, but I set it out as a story so that you would have the detail of what actually occurred. Of course, it's far more engaging for you, and the purpose of this is to create material that is engaging with my audience. But also remember, this is my channel. It's about me and my work. And therefore, it's important, and I know many of you are interested in this, to understand the way that I saw the interaction. It wasn't just about Harry's wife and what she had to say, and you being furnished with that information. It was about how we interacted, how I saw her, what I recognised in her in terms of her behaviour, what I sought to achieve. It enables you to understand more about the way that I function, the way that I interact with people, give you an insight into part of my world, some of my friends, the way that I deal with a new potential intimate target. And therefore, the reason that it was put in that way, and I know many of you understand this, but I'm explaining it also to encourage people to engage further with my work, is to help you not only understand the way that Harry's wife behaves and what actually happened, but to get you inside my head so that you understand more about the way that my kind function and operate, because that, ultimately, is far more rewarding for you. But that was Volume 1. That was the first occasion that I had with her. I didn't know who she was prior to the meeting, and of course, I got the background information from Alastor, my information specialist, and an amber flag was in place. But there's more to tell you, because as you know, I met her more than once. In Volume 2, again, the recollection will be provided to you in story form, so that you can understand what happened when there was a second interaction between the two of us, but also how this was engineered, what happened, and how I viewed it, what was going through my mind alongside the discussions that were taking place. In Volume 2, it's a completely different environment to that of Volume 1, completely different circumstances that occur. It's also moved forward in terms of timeline as well, so that it's closer to the now. There's a different shift, of course, in the status of Harry's wife at that juncture. And therefore, as part of understanding the interaction between us, you will also have the benefit of various of my analyses that actually preceded the next interaction that took place between us. You'll also see a shift in her behaviours, moving from the grasping individual that was particularly self-absorbed with wanting the world to know that she was this supposedly successful actress in this mega series called Suits, which of course we all knew was to the contrary, to a more established position, and it shows with regard to the behaviour. But once again, the recollection of this event will be done in a way which enables you to understand more about the way that a narcissist, her, a mid-range narcissist, functions and behaves, and the way that I, as a narcissistic psychopath, behave. You'll also find it entertaining, because the nature of the interaction is probably not what you would have expected to have occurred, and therefore you will end up learning yet more about what happened when Harry's wife met me. This is the second interaction that I'm going to be detailing for you, but there are more beyond it, because as I've explained before, there were a variety of interactions that have occurred, and those sugars that repeatedly go, "But you don't know her," are completely wrong, because I do. Sure, I've not lived with her. I've not been engaged to her, not married her. But I have had sufficient involvement with her to glean more than enough information to make the assessment that I've done, and, of course, ally that with all of the other information that's available and continue to help you understand. Remember, I don't bear Harry's wife any particular ill will. Yes, she's dull and she's boring, but she's not impacted on my life in a way that's made it difficult by any stretch of the imagination. And rather I regard her almost as the way that, for instance, Sir David Attenborough would, observing an animal as it goes about its business. And as I've explained to you before, I am the Sir David Attenborough of narcissism, explaining the ins and outs of our kind. That's the way that I look upon her. She's a study, and a rather useful one, given her prominence and the wealth of material that's generated in relation to her, and the fact that so many people have an interest in her. Thus, this was a taster, giving you some more explanations to enable you to engage with my work more fully, to gain more from the experience, and also to whet your appetite as to what you can expect in Volume 2, which is coming soon. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.